Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's Google Connect event, Taking Market Share, Digital Marketing Strategies Used by Fast Growth Estate Agents. As the property market slows and estate agents appear daily, there has never been a more crucial time to have a cutting-edge marketing strategy. Today you will discover practical, quick-win changes for your marketing campaigns and websites in order to increase leads to your offices and ensure that you stay ahead of the competition in 2018. So without further ado, let me introduce your first speaker for this evening, Alice Rose. Alice is the head of digital at Fountain and is the mastermind behind Yomove's success, creating a strategy that drove them from 5 branches to over 100 in the space of 4 years. Alice is going to share with you the most effective strategies for growth that she's seen in the estate agency market. Thank you, Alice.
Hello everyone, thank you Rachel for those kind words. So we've got a packed evening of content for you, so I'll just jump straight into it. So in my talk this evening, I'm going to be sharing 3 main things. Which marketing strategy has been proven to bring the highest ROI for estate agents? The best performing marketing channels in 2018, and my 4 top tips, which are low cost, high impact strategies that you should implement this year. So who are Fountain? Some of you may know us already, but for those that don't, we're a digital marketing agency based in Norwich and London. We have 2 core services. One is pay-per-click and sending traffic to your website, and the second is conversion rate, so improving the efficiency of your website. Our mission is to take the risk out of marketing and deliver exponential ROI through accurate forecasting and data-driven decisions. This methodology was recognized by Google at their Premier Partner Awards in 2016. This was Google's first ever Premier Partner Awards. So it was run for the whole of EMEA, so Europe, Middle East and Africa, and we entered. We were 50-50 about whether or not we were going to win. We went up against 1,499 other agencies in the whole of EMEA, and we took home the award for Best Search Performance. So we all went back to the office, had a big celebration, a few sore heads the next day, and then our marketing team busted out the next day that actually we had to start preparing for 2017. So we went in again. And this time, we won the EMEA Award for Growing Businesses Online, and then they flew all the regional winners out to New York, and we went to head with all the other winners in that category around the world. And this company, founded in Norwich just 9 years ago, took home the award. So we are proud to say that we are now the world's best digital marketing agency at growing businesses online. So you're in safe hands in here tonight, is what I'm trying to say. So let me start with a story. I'm sure some of you will be aware who this big green sheep is. It's Eunice, the logo for Yomove. Now, Glenn and David from Yomove approached us back in 2013, and they said, right, we've got a problem. We're spending a lot of money sending traffic to our website, and it's not working. So clearly, Google AdWords doesn't work. So we looked at the website, and we realised they had a 0.2% conversion rate when they came to us. Now that's 1 in 500 people. Now imagine if I worked for one of your estate agency brands and you sent me into a room this evening with 500 people who were ready to put their house on the market. And I spoke to every single one of them all evening, and at the end you asked me how I got on. And I said, well, I had one meaningful conversation. Now, I'm pretty sure you'd give me my P45 and I'd have to leave the next day. The website wasn't working for them. Their cost per lead was over £450 and their target was £20. So they had a real problem on their hands. We said to them, look, there's no point spending more money, sending more traffic to this website because it clearly doesn't work. We need to rethink what this website is doing for you. So we embarked upon a process of conversion rate optimization. So this is a process where we analyze the website and we try and make it more efficient. I'll go into a bit more detail about what I mean. So there are 4 key steps to this process. The first is to review usability. Now we use a lot of software in this step, and one of them which I want to tell you a bit more about is called Mouseflow. Some of you may have heard of it before. There's some other options on the market like SessionCam and Hotjar. Basically, we install it on your website It's quite simple, and it records users' mouse movement across the site. So it's a bit like if one of you was on Fountain's website today and I came and stood behind your shoulder and watched what you were doing. It's a bit creepy, but it's also very useful for us marketers. So we reviewed what pieces of content people were seeing on the site, which areas they were navigating to, and what they weren't missing. And we found that there was no real USPs on the site. They weren't really shouting about why they were a great agent. So we identified some quick wins. Now these are really quick jobs that a website developer can do, so it might be changing some of the website copy to be more sales-based or persuasive. It might be changing a button, moving a button about from below the fold to up where it's clearly visible. We put those into practice. And then we went back and we had some other longer term changes that actually it was going to take a little bit of investment for their website developers to do. And actually we weren't sure about all of them. So we put them to the market. So we used a piece of split testing software called Visual Website Optimizer. Now what this does, it's very technical, but I'll just give you a quick explanation. You can load up your homepage and you can keep that as the original. It stays the same. You then take another variant of your homepage and you make a few tweaks to it. So you can change the copy, you can change colours, you can change the whole layout if you want. You can make quite radical changes. And then you send 50% of traffic to one variant and 50% to the other. So you actually take your changes out to the market. So rather than us all in this room deciding which variant we prefer, because some of us might like green more than we like blue, we actually let the public decide. The people that are actually your target audience are going to decide the winner. We run that for a couple of days, we get the results back, and then we hand it to the website developers and say, right, here's our clear winner. We're all backed behind this strategy. Please implement this on the site. So that's our process. I'm going to show you the before and after shots. So this is the website before. The main call to action I see from this landing page is that big pink play button, and that's actually not what they wanted the user to do. There's no real USPs on there. All it's saying is, are you looking to sell or rent? Get your free appraisal. That's pretty much it. So at the end of all of our analysis, we actually wireframed what a new website should look like. So we took all the elements and we drew them to scale, and we gave it to the developers and said, right, all our analysis has proven that this is what your website should look like. So we went from 0.2% conversion rate to 1% just by some quick wins. This was what they came up with. So you can quite clearly see here, we've got social proofing in this black bar near the bottom. We've got that they're award winners, that they're the UK's most trusted on Trustpilot. And we've also got Yomdel live chat. The call to action is much stronger. And this is just one snapshot from the website. We changed a whole host of other elements of the site, and we got the conversion rate from 0.2 to 1%. Now, we didn't stop there. So you know when I was telling you about Visual Website Optimizer? We used that process on this site. So we then embarked on a period of split testing. We did this for 4 months. When we started split testing, we got the conversion rate to 3.16%. By the end of that 4-month period, we were at 8.94%. Now, what that means in terms of tangible results is they had 376% more leads just from those changes. So then we decided to start sending traffic to it. One thing I want to point out is that conversion rate optimization impacts all the traffic that you're sending to your site, not just pay-per-click. So if you're doing any direct mail, any email marketing, anything that you're sending traffic to the site, improving your conversion rate is going to benefit all of those channels. We've tried this with a number of estate agencies and it's worked every time. Now I want to talk about what you can do once you've got the highest performing website in your sector. That's when you start to send traffic to the site. The 2 channels I'm going to talk about is Google and Facebook specifically. Now, Google AdWords. Personally, it's my favourite channel, although we are currently in Google's office and they're providing some nice, yummy food after this, so I would say that. There's a quick demo in the background, quick video of how it works. I'm sure quite a lot of you are familiar with AdWords. It's the ads that sit at the top of Google's search results, and they have a green button next to them that says ad. Now, what it allows you to do is bid on keywords to show your advert at the top of Google. So the ads are shown at the top, at the bottom, and when you click on those, they take you through to a landing page. Now, In 2018, it's more important than ever to make sure you're appearing on Google's search results. And Google AdWords offers a quick way to do that without months of investment in SEO. One of the phrases I've heard quite a lot when I tell people what I do for a living is, well, does anyone actually click on the ads anyway? And I hear that a lot. Well, a stat that my colleague shared with me yesterday is that last year Google were projected to turn over $92.4 billion from search advertising. So people are definitely clicking on those ads. It's about creating your adverts and putting them in front of a highly engaged audience that's ready to convert. So these aren't just people that you're sending a leaflet to, hoping that they have a house they're willing to sell. It's actually getting them when they're typing in your services directly into Google, and then you're putting your message in front of them and allowing them to take action on the site. It's about directing users to the right page on the website as well. So rather than them just searching for your URL and landing on a home page, and you hope that they find the call to action that you want them to take, it's saying, okay, if they're searching for a market appraisal, if they want to book to get one of your agents in their house to actually review the house, and find out how much it's worth, it's about making sure you take them to a page on your website that actually sells that appraisal. Don't give them the whole story about who the brand and who else they are and who you are. Just give them the call to action that you want them to take. And it's a pay-per-click model, which means you only pay when somebody clicks on your ad. So whenever you serve an ad, so whenever there's an impression, it doesn't cost you a thing. The minute somebody clicks, that's when you pay. Now, I've talked about how it works and why you should use it, but what can you expect from Google AdWords? So Google has a really great forecasting tool called the Keyword Planner, and it allows you to go in there and put in keywords that you think your target audience are searching for, and it gives you estimates of how many people are searching for that in your area. Now, we run hundreds of campaigns for estate agencies across the country, and they're all quite local, regional campaigns. And we see, on average, 400 clicks a month from Google AdWords to each territory, 60 high-quality leads at a cost per lead of £15. So it's a really cost-effective channel. You can really scale it as well. That's just one example of quite localized campaigns. But if you had a much larger territory, then it would be quite simple to scale an AdWords campaign because there's quite simple location settings. Now, the next channel I want to talk to you about is Facebook. Again, there's a video in the background. I took this the other day, and obviously I'm interested in mac and cheese and slippers, I think was the advert that I get. Yeah, some slippers offering me 25% off. I actually have a pair and they're great, so Facebook marketing clearly does work. Now, Facebook's been in the news quite a lot recently because of the Cambridge Analytica scandal. But for those of us that use Facebook in a more ethical manner, we see great results from it. There was a study done in 2015 by Stanford University that found that Facebook knows more about you from your likes and your posts than your spouse, which is just crazy. But it's really, really helpful for us as marketers because we can take all that information that Facebook knows about you and use it to our advantage. We know, for instance, that one of the best strategies on Facebook is to target people who are homeowners looking to sell. And we do this by combining a few factors. So we limit the age range, and we say that we don't want to target anyone under the age of 28 because they're unlikely to have a home that they're looking to sell. We can then layer it up with interests. So we get people who are interested in home insurance, are interested in DIY, or are homeowners. And you can also target by income bracket as well. So you can say, I only want to take people with a disposable income of X. What it means is that you're creating this really targeted profile of people on Facebook in which to show your advert to. So what can you expect from Facebook? It's a smaller volume than Google, but it is very high quality. So we see on average for the localized campaigns that we run, 200 people a month clicking through to the website who fall within your target audience that you've set, 30 leads and a £20 cost per lead. So they're my two big channels that I wanted to share with you today. Now I want to go on to my 4 top tips. So these are the low-cost, high-impact things that everyone should be thinking about in 2018. The first one is tracking and measurement. So I want to do a quick poll. So I've discussed conversion rate optimization, what it is and how we do it quite a lot. Who here knows the conversion rate? Raise your hand if you know the conversion rate of your website last month. 1. Anybody else? And the tentative 2, who might know but may also not know. So that's not really surprising. Tracking is often the most overlooked element of a digital marketing campaign, but it's actually the easiest, and it's one of the big benefits of digital marketing, sorry. If you were to run a television ad, you might get vague ideas of how many people are seeing it, but with digital marketing campaigns like Google AdWords and Facebook, you can actually track the views of your ad, the clicks, and all the way through full funnel to the actual instructions that you had from that click. So you can track every penny that you're spending on what you're doing. It can be quite straightforward to implement. So we do a bit of housekeeping whenever we take on a new client. We'll install Google Analytics, so that's our primary tracking software. And we then make sure that we track absolutely every action you can take on the website. So whether that's people filling in contact forms or lead forms, or even down to phone calls, you can track those. And it's all free to do with Google Analytics as well. So there's no excuse not to have a website where you're not tracking everything. Once you've got tracking set up, you can then optimize. So we want to create a machine whereby every £1 you put in, you get £10 back. And over months of optimization, you keep getting more back. You get £12 back, you get £13 back. And you can do that through tracking everything, because you can see where you're wasting money and then work out the best channels and put your money into those. So tracking and measurement. The second one is advanced remarketing. Now, who here has been browsing for something online? They've been shopping for a new watch, for example, and they have decided they don't want to purchase it this month. So then they get followed, they get teased by that watch for the next 3 months until they buy it. Now, on Google, you can follow people for 540 days, which is incredible, just through cookie data. Now, some people might say, okay, well, aren't people going to get bored? 540 days is a long time to follow somebody around for. Well, yes, but that's why you have to be a bit smart about it. So what we want to do is show people different adverts, so different image adverts, depending on where they are in the funnel. So if somebody's just been to your website and left, you show them an advert offering them a free online valuation, because that's the next step in their journey. All the way through to, if they've already sold with you and they're really raving fans, we call them, happy customers, you actually show them an ad trying to get referral business, and you show them an offer. If you refer a friend, you get a hamper or something, so to speak. So we make sure that our remarketing is smart, and you're trying to get your brand out there, but doing it in a controlled way to get people back into the funnel at the right stage. Remarketing is multi-channel, so it doesn't just work on Google and Facebook. It also works on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Now, YouTube is one of the most underutilized digital marketing channels at the minute. There's a lot of big brands advertising on that channel, but not that many SMEs. Now, it's incredibly cheap. And if you guys have got any video content, I know a lot of people sit on video content, they get it done, think it's a great idea, and they're not sure what to do with it. And it sits on YouTube and it gets a couple of hundred views every now and then. Use it for remarketing. So you can actually target people who have been to your website when they then go on YouTube to watch their how to put up a shelf video, for instance. You can actually target them at the start of that video with a skippable ad. Now, if they skip the advert, you don't pay a penny. But if they actually watch it to the full 30 seconds, then you pay for a view. And a view on YouTube at the minute in this industry is averaging at around 4 pence. So it's incredibly cheap to tell your story on YouTube, get the engagement, and if they skip it, you don't pay a penny. The third thing I want to talk to you about is website speed. Now, Google did a study recently that found that 53% of people abandon a website if it takes more than 3 seconds to load, which is crazy. You've spent all this money on SEO, all this money on pay-per-click, trying to get as many people to your website as possible, and then it takes 4 seconds to load and half your visitors leave. Page speed is a big problem. The faster your website, not only does it impact a better conversion rate, but it also improves your organic rankings. So if any of you are doing SEO at the minute, one of the key factors into moving you up the rankings is actually website speed. So make sure you go back and speak to whoever it is at your agency or at your company that's looking after SEO and make sure they're thinking about website speed. Now, there's a really handy tool, if you want to note this down. This is a URL you can go to. It's run by Google. You can put the URL of your website in, and it will give you a ranking out of 100. And it will give you some really clear recommendations for how to improve your website speed. You can download that report and actually send it straight off to whoever manages your website and ask them to take a look at it and put improvements in place. This is a process we've gone through with a lot of our estate agency clients, and one of them saw a 77% increase in conversion rate the day after they put their speed changes live. So it really does affect the bottom line of the website. And the fourth and final high impact strategy in 2018 is live chat. But Andy's next up from Yomdel, so I'm teeing him up nicely to take over that section. So just to recap then, guys, the 5 things here, that is 5 I've written. Increase your conversion rate. The ROI is exponential. It doesn't just impact paid search, it impacts traffic from everything that you're doing. Once you've got the highest converting website in the industry, consider paid traffic. The channels you want to focus on are Google AdWords and Facebook. Track everything. What you can measure, you can improve. Stay front of mind with remarketing. It's a low-cost way to get your brand name out there and create the fastest site and differentiate yourselves from your competitors. Thank you very much. I hope you've all found that interesting.
I'd now like to introduce your second speaker for this evening, Andy Solomon. Andy is CEO and founder of Yomdel, the UK's multiple award-winning business growth company. Andy is going to talk you through how to transform distracted visitors into loyal customers. Thank you, Andy.
Thank you very much indeed.
Hello everyone, it's nice to see some familiar faces here, and for those of you that don't know me, my name is, as Rachel said, Andy Solomon, and I'm the founder of Yomdel. They always say that you shouldn't really just sort of sit around endlessly, and it's very good to get up and stretch your legs a little bit. So if you don't mind, I would just like, before we start, just ask you all just to get your feet. I don't know if it's going to work, but let's just give it a quick go. And if you could just dig into your pocket or your bag, I know you've been told to turn it off, but just take out your phone if you'd be so kind. And just hold it for a second. Don't do anything, don't turn it on, just have a look at it. And just think back to when you acquired this device, how long ago it was. If you got your phone in the last 6 months, you're very, very lucky. You can sit down, please. It's quite interesting, there's about half the room. If you got your phone in the last year, could you sit down, please? And shall we push it to 2 years? Sit down, please. And, oh, I'm so sorry, we're left with 3 people. Please sit down. It wasn't, the point there is not to embarrass anyone about feeling you've got an old-fashioned device. But your device is at the end there only just over 2 years old, or less than 3 years old. That is a very, very, very short time. And the point of that little exercise is just to try to place a thought in your minds about how fast the process of technological change is going. It's accelerating all of the time. 2 years now in the world of a piece of technology is an eternity. And with every change and every adaptation, every improvement, every new version, the technology enables new behaviors and starts to inform new behavior. And so that's really what I would like to explore. I've got a clicker somewhere. We're coming up also to a very special date for me and for everyone at Yomdel, which is at the beginning of June 2014, was when we launched our first service into the property sector. Now, at that time, estate agents in the UK typically did not use live chat. Most of them would be open during the standard business hours. They would close at whatever time, whether it was 5:30 or whether they had extended hours for some of them. And then they would go away overnight, over the weekend, over holidays. And they'd come back and they'd hope the next morning there'd be a stack of leads that may have come from Rightmove or Zoopla, and they would start digging through them. So in early 2014, we launched the first service for estate agents, which gave them the opportunity to be open for 24 hours a day. Because their recognition is that these days the footfall on the high street, the footfall into your branches is, if it isn't rapidly decreasing, it has decreased. people are not stepping in off the threshold on a whim. People are stepping across the threshold after they have completed their research, after they have decided that's the estate agent I want to speak to, if indeed that's the way they want to do it. In fact, most people will want to do it online. Now, when we started in 2014, that first month, we had 3 clients, small local agencies who trusted us to say, you know what, this is worth a go. And those 3 small agencies are still with us today. 2 of them not as small as they were. One of them has been acquired by Countrywide, in fact. And but these days we're now working with, if we measure it by branch, about 2,000 estate agents across the UK. We are managing on behalf of those estate agents in the region of 35,000 chats a month. Most of my stats say 30,000. When we tot it up, it's actually a bit higher than that. So it's 35,000 people a month are engaging via Yomdel with our estate agency clients. That in turn gives us a really, really good insight into people's behaviour, how they prefer to do things, and what they want to get out of an estate agent, you know, what questions they are going to ask. So Alice, thank you very much for that presentation about the marketing, because these days, thinking like an estate agent, you'd be thinking about traditional high street agents, maybe thinking about purple bricks, right? But actually, that's not the thing to think about, because your customers are not thinking like that. Your customers are thinking like people who don't really know what to do. I was speaking to Mark Hayward from the National Association of Estate Agents a couple of weeks ago, and he said that their latest data suggested that people only move house once every 17 years. The orthodoxy used to be 7 or 8 years or something like that. So I think Zoopla has a higher figure than that, over 20 years. Now, once every 17 years means that the people, your customers, if you're estate agents, not all of you in this room are, but if you're estate agents, your customers are actually incredibly inexperienced in the process of buying or selling property. They may not even know what questions to ask, let alone know the process or understand what they need to do and when. We see a lot of people coming onto our service on our various clients, and they will be buyers thinking about their new dream home, and they will be thinking that's the first thing they should be doing. Well, they're missing the point, of course, because they can find their dream home, but if they're not in a position to proceed, if their house is not on the market, they can't be helped, because no vendor's going to wait until they're ready to actually sell the house. It doesn't work that way. There's a real gulf in education. So as estate agents, thinking like the customer is really, really important. Now, just to take what Alice was saying a bit earlier, with everyone being online, and there is a piece of research Think with Google did in 2016, I think it was, but it actually looked at the car buying journey, and it followed a woman called Stacey over a 3-month period from the time where she decided she was going to buy a car to the point where she received the keys. And of course, property, you receive a set of keys at the end, that's the final transaction. And in that time, those 3 months, it was calculated that she had 900 digital interactions. That's a lot, right? It's really, really a lot. Now, some of those are, they're not things that anyone can influence, but she's out there, she's doing her research, she's looking at videos, she's looking at reviews, she's just browsing around, engaging on social media, looking for advice, looking for referrals, looking for all kinds of things, reviews, all this kind of stuff. And for any business wanting to have Stacey's as a customer, if they're not in the places, some of those 900 interactions that she's having at the same time, in a position to put the brand in front, in the way Alice talked about, say, for example, with remarketing, having that brand there in front helps keep it front of mind, because if you're not front of mind, you're not in the mind. You're not going to be considered. At the end of Stacey's journey, she narrowed it down to something like 14 models, 6 dealerships, and she only actually visited 2, I believe. I might be wrong on that, but it was something like that. So those 2 dealerships where she walked across the threshold, if they had not been influencing her behaviour and influencing her thought process along that journey, they're not going to win her business. So to reflect on what Alice said about the importance of driving people in, the importance of keeping your brand front and foremost in your most important office, which is your website and your other digital assets, your social media, is really, really important. So now, to follow on from where Alice left off, live chat on YouMove, We started working on YouMove in 2014, a little bit after Fountain, but not that long after. And we did a lot of pilots and tests with some of the individual franchisees, parts of the website. And then this is the date that we went live across the entire website, which says the 2nd of February, I think, I can't quite read that, 2015. And it's like turning on a tap. That was the conversion rate, and the red line before chat, and the green line is the conversion rate once chat was in place from day one. And of course, there's a gradual improvement going on there. And of course, Fountain were doing all their magic and helping drive the right traffic through, because if you've got the right traffic coming in, you can convert it into the right people. So if we know we've got lots of vendors coming in based on the campaigns that Fountain are running, then we will convert more of those vendors. And the growth, as you all know, with the YouMove was quite exceptional, to the point where they were acquired by Property Franchise Group in September 2016, and have continued their growth on now to well over 120 franchisees. So, sitting on a gold mine, maybe, but if you've got the traffic, you're driving the right traffic in, if you need to convert more people, you need to think about who your customer is and what they need. So, just to put that into sort of stark reality, just taking a random kind of conversion rate, but if you said for every 5,000 unique web users monthly, you had a 2% conversion rate, which would generate for you 100 leads, right? Quite simple. If you move that to a 3% conversion rate, which is a 50% increase in your conversion online, that of course generates you 150 leads. Wonderful. 600 leads a year, okay? Now, if you think about some standard kind of estate agency metrics, and you take, say, for every 100 valuations that you are able to do, and you win, and say, an average of 40 instructions, which I think is probably pretty fair, and then of those 40 instructions that go onto the market, 60% of those sell. That means 24 sales based on your 100 market appraisals. You move that to 150, of course, that goes up to 60, goes up to 36, an extra 12 sales for every 5,000 website users, sorry, for every 50 market appraisals. So that will generate at an average fee of 3,000. Obviously, some of you will have probably much higher fees than that, but say an average fee of £3,000 will generate an extra £36,000 of commission. How do you find these people? Where is your customer? Now, we all just stood up just now. Well, I was already standing up. You stood up afterwards. And you took out your phones. And you are all the customer. Your customer is everywhere, all of the time, being a customer. They are always connected. These devices, I don't know where I put my phone, there it is. These devices are a great democratizer and a great enabler. People are able, they're at Old Trafford, these poor souls, so it's probably quite a boring game. They're probably all looking for an estate agent, as you'd expect. They can be doing that because they're connected, because the mobile experience is now good enough. They say that any website these days should not be built to also work on mobile, but should be built for mobile first, because maybe 60 to 70% of your website visitors will be coming on mobile. On the social channels, probably much higher than that. So if you think that every speck of light represents an always connected potential customer, you have to find ways to be available to them at a time that suits them, not at a time that suits you. They're not always going to be doing it when it's convenient for you. You've got your opening hours. No way on earth could you possibly be open 24 hours a day, just waiting for someone to want to make contact with you. But your customers want to do it when it suits them. They will do it when it suits them. If they find a way to have a connection with you, they find a way to ask their question or find out what question they need to ask, because for the first time in 17 years they're thinking of selling a house, then you need to be open and ready for them. So our stats say, of those 35,000 chats that we handle a month on average, 52% of them are coming outside of standard business hours. Now, your Google Analytics tells you this. You know this, of course, you know this. But you have to think about it as every single one of those people is another opportunity that you would be ordinarily have your doors open. Think about it in terms of a shop. You walk into a shop and the shop assistant says to you, in an old-fashioned kind of nice shop, "Can I help you?" And you say, "No, thanks, fine." And you walk on in, and you then say, "Oh, actually, where are the jackets?" You turn around, you look for the person who's just said hello to you. So, excuse me, yeah, actually, where are they? They're over there. And off you go, and they come with you, and they help you fit, and ultimately you buy a jacket off them. Now, think about that in terms of going onto a typical traditional website in the middle of the night. You may as well be going into a shop with all the lights off in many cases, because unless you know how things are laid out, unless you know exactly what you want, you may not find it, and as a result, you're not going to hang around. So if you can help people, to guide people, then you are more likely to win their trust and to win their business. Now, there is another thing here. Sorry, just excuse me a second. I apologise about this. Oh, there we go. Stop that. Anyone any idea how long that was? Not to hazard a guess.
5 seconds.
5 seconds. Gosh, that's a quick 5 seconds. Oh, yeah, okay. 15 over there. Anyone else want to guess? 30 seconds. Anyone else?
10.
Okay, so that's interesting. So we've got a range of between 5 seconds and 30 seconds. It was actually 15 seconds. But it was a bit uncomfortable, wasn't it? It's uncomfortable for me, I know that, because I'm standing in front of all you lot, you know. But it was a bit uncomfortable. And the reason it was uncomfortable is because you weren't quite sure what was happening. You weren't quite sure what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing either. But online, if you think someone's online, first their website, their page, whatever they're looking at needs to be loading really super fast. But if they're engaging with someone via live chat, and they've got the chat window on their phone, and they're looking at it and nothing's happening, 15 seconds is about the limit of someone's full attention. It starts to wane very quickly after that. You get to 30 seconds, it starts to feel like a really long time. Anything longer than 30 seconds starts to feel like paint drying when you're looking at it. So that 15 seconds, with people being distracted all of the time, they need speed. They've got things going ping and pong on their phone, they've got Twitter and Facebook and all these different things happening all at the same time, all these things competing for their attention. And what's more, they are impatient and they want to move on and they want to get things now, very, very quickly. It is that 15 seconds that is actually really, really, really important. So 15 seconds also just happens to be so it's a setup really. The average initial response time that Yomdel has for all of its live chat engagements, 24 hours a day. And what's particularly interesting about this is that as of the middle of last year, we had an average speed to answer of 30 seconds, which was already globally leading. If you look at the stats in the real estate sector globally for live chat response times, you're actually closer to a minute overall as the initial response. Now, if that was 15 seconds felt like a long time, imagine what a minute feels like if you don't get any response. How many people are going to give up in that time? So we looked at moving our 15-second response time down to, 30-second response time down to 15 seconds. And we were already delivering, again, globally leading customer satisfaction scores of about 93 to 95%, very, very high. The average in real estate for live chat globally is 73% customer satisfaction. We were overachieving on that front. But interestingly, after we moved it down to this 15 seconds, the customer satisfaction score across the board moved up from 93 to 95% to 98 to 100%. Now that sounds almost impossible, but when we looked into it more deeply, what it's actually saying to us is that people value speed of response immensely. And if you're not getting to them quickly, you know what the experience is like on a telephone when you call up and you're put on hold for ages, some terrible music or whatever. It's just interminable. It's an awful experience. But in chat, people are using chat because they want to have an immediate response. They want to know straight away what the answer to their question can be. They need that help. And if they don't get it, they're going to go. Now, of course, when people are choosing an estate agent, there are still some old-fashioned values that are there. You know, there's the rational and the emotional decision. There's the rational is, I want a really good estate agent with a really good price, who's going to do a really good job and get me what I want. The emotional says, you're selling my home, it's got all my memories, all the history of my family, my children grew up here, and I want to make sure it's passed on into safe hands, and the next people who live here are going to love and cherish it as much as I have done over the time. So then we start thinking about the customer experience and the customer journey, and how can you help people fall in love with what it is that you've got to offer. It's a tough market out there. Because we're dealing with so many estate agents, we hear lots of stories about how their businesses are performing. And we know that this year, some of them are facing a real squeeze. Their cash flow is tight. The property's not moving as fast as they need it to. But in order to help push up these conversion rates and things, it's not all just about technology, being really, really super smart with tech and chatbots and AI and all this kind of stuff. People are social and they enjoy and they cherish human interaction. They want to speak to a person. They want a person to help them. They want a person to show empathy and to then be able to give them that quick information as and when they need it. And this is a great opportunity for you in your businesses, whatever your business, or estate agent or any other kind of business, to set yourselves apart from your competitors by providing that exceptional customer service, by recognizing that some people want to be helped. And in fact, I should just say the UMove conversion data, going all the way back to the beginnings, think about percentages. It's marginal gains here to give big results. So the UMove percentages, so that 50% uplift in conversion on the UMove website was achieved from engaging with less than 3% of the users on the website. So for every 100 people, 97 people continue to do whatever they were doing previously, which may be nothing at all, or converting via other channels, and 3% were choosing to go into chat. And of those, a third of those were converting. People like people. They want to be taken, paid attention to, and this is a great opportunity for any business to be able to win the heart of someone, because if you think back to the emotional decision, that's saying, I like you, I want to find a way to be able to give you my business. You just need to convince me a little bit more. You might be more expensive, but I'm prepared to do that because I like you. So creating that connection with people. So when we're looking at a website, looking at our estate agency clients, it's not just a simple pop-up chat. Want to chat? Yeah, all right. No, it's not that at all. It's actually about intelligently trying to identify who the people are coming across the website. The system is tracking where they're coming in from. So we can track where they're coming in from various campaigns. We can see the acquisition channel they've come in from. If we know the acquisition channel, we might know what they've interacted with. So they might be showing their hand in terms of being a vendor or whatever other profile they are. Once we're able to track them and identify, so for example, another example would be landlords. We know most landlords only have 1 or 2 properties. A standard kind of behavior would be landlords will come in, they'll go to the landlord information pages on the website. And then actually, rather than going into the rental listings, which you kind of imagine that's what they do, they don't. They let them go into the sales listings, and they'll go and look at property prices in their area. And because they've been on the landlord page and then they go into the sales listings, they've shown their hand as a potential landlord, and they can be targeted as a landlord. Once we've identified and prioritized in the system who the people are, we can then target them with proactive invitations. And the invitations are 1 invitation per visit. You don't want to bombard them and annoy them and irritate them. But these invitations are designed to be a direct call to action. If you're thinking of selling or letting a property, I could offer a free valuation, is so much more effective than how can I help you? You might feel by saying, how can I help you, is a softer kind of non-salesy kind of thing. But actually, what people are looking for when they're coming in to chat is they're looking for an answer to a question, or they're looking for an opportunity to do something. They want to beat around the bush. They just want to know. If you put the onus on them, what do they want to know? They don't know necessarily, but you say to them, is this what you want to know? Because you've tracked them and identified them. Oh yeah, actually, yeah, it is. I would like to know that. Through then a human engagement, very carefully structured, we're able then to nurture that relationship, to build trust, and ultimately to convert them into a prime opportunity. And those conversations last typically about 13 minutes for a lead. That's a long time in the web world where you're measuring website visits in 1 or 2 minutes. And from that, you end up with potentially a motivated customer. They've given a lot of information about themselves, a lot of anecdotal information. For the sales guy picking up the phone to call this person afterwards, there's so much stuff in there. Please don't call before 4 o'clock because I've got to take little Johnny to the doctor. So you call up, how is little Johnny? You wouldn't know that from a web form or an instant online valuation form. These little insights are really, really powerful in terms of being able to help nurture that relationship further. This is kind of stating the obvious, and I would put something like this up because I'm completely biased, obviously, but people do like live chat. I mean, I could ask in this room, how many of you have used live chat these days? I would expect probably all hands to go. Should we do it? How many of you have used live chat in the last month? That's a large number, okay. How many of you offer 24/7 live chat support on your websites? Yomdel, yeah. So apart from Yomdel, there is an enormous disconnect there. You're all using it as a channel, and you've all got your reasons as to why you may use it as a channel, but I'd venture you think, I can't be bothered to make a phone call, I can get a quick answer, I can do other things in between if I need to, all kinds of different, I can do it at work and look really busy. There's all kinds of reasons why you might use live chat, but most of you use it, yet most of your businesses don't offer it. It's not connecting. The customer experience, even your own experience, is saying you need to have this. Indeed, 41%, according to these stats, will say that people prefer to use live chat over any other channel. And it's important to say live chat is only one of a number of options. The more channels you present to people, the more opportunity you give to people to make contact with you, the more likely they are, of course. But given the option, 41% of people will say they'd like to use live chat. Telephone still features, email still features, actually social media is probably a little bit low. But the customer satisfaction element is not to be ignored. It's really powerful. Now let's just think a little bit more about who's doing this stuff. So again, the orthodoxy would be it's the millennials, it's the youngsters, the digital natives, they are the ones who are going to use these channels. Well, I'm going to make an argument now and say no, it's not necessarily just them. So this is the next 3 slides are looking at the age group 55 to 75. Unfortunately, I fall into that age group now. But anyway, and I do have a smartphone. So this is June last, almost a year old, Deloitte, this data. So that bit dark blue thing in the middle will be much taller now, based on an annual growth rate of about 22, 23% in smartphone ownership of the 55 to 75-year-old age group, okay? So that means that 73% as of the middle of 2017 had a smartphone, and probably everyone in this room does as well. What are they using their smartphones for? You might not be able to read all of this, it's all quite small. But there's a couple of really interesting things that come out of this. The first, which I want to point out, is that, and that's top 2 lines, which are text messaging and voice calls. In the previous week, only 73% of people aged 55 to 75 use their smartphone as a telephone. Right? A few more of them use it as text messaging, just under 80%. But there's a decrease in text messaging and telephone usage among that age group with their telephones, which of course maybe just aren't telephones anymore. But what's really interesting, the lighter blue lines are the ones you need to be looking at because they're 2017. But what's really interesting is things like this, which says instant messaging in those 5 years. So you've got 35% of those people in that age group had instant messaged on their mobile phone in the previous week. Other things in their emails, social networking, reading news. So they are using these devices in ways to communicate that they would never have communicated as this particular age group before. They're not just picking up the phone anymore. And then when you put that into some broader kind of context, this age group, 55 to 75, is about 14 million people. The baby boomers, the most affluent segment of society there's probably ever been, account for, they're basically 53 to 72 now, and they account for half of the UK's £11 trillion in wealth, right? Half of them are still economically active, and importantly for many people in this room, they are also property owners, but they're also property owners who are in the process of upsizing or downsizing. They're the most active participants in the property market in terms of transactions, buying and selling property. It's going to give you nice big fees. And I love this stat. 55 to 75-year-old power users of their phones look at them an average of 60 times a day. I'm sure there's a few of us in that room. I'm one of those. That works out 22,000 times a year. that they are glued to their phone. This is a huge opportunity for people. And then the graph here is just, of course, just looking at anything under 54, so almost 100% penetration of internet, and then these lines are all kind of coming up at the other side. So this segment of population is not one that should be ignored through digital channels. In fact, it should be embraced and should be specifically targeted, because your prime customers are out there doing digital things. And you need to find as many ways as you possibly can to bring them into your world, whether it's through your marketing efforts or through your communication channels that you make available to them, and all the other things that you do. I was going to finish off with this slide. And Fine & Country are a client of ours, and we've worked with them for coming up for 2 years now. And you'll be familiar, I'm sure, with Fine & Country. They tend to deal with the high-end property. There's probably around 200 plus, there are more than 200 plus offices around the UK. Live chat, Yomdel was introduced in mid-2016, as indeed was an instant online valuation tool. Prior to that, Fine & Country only had a web form online. So just to make a point about cannibalization or extra opportunity, and this is really, really important, because there's no point just stealing from Peter to pay Paul. There's no point from adopting one thing and taking it away from the other. You need to have net more going through. So in 2017 versus 2016, even though they had introduced instant online valuation and live chat, the web form, yes, please contact me for a valuation, saw a net increase of, I think it's around 1.2% in total. Given that the website traffic had not changed significantly, that was fine. The instant online valuation tool they put in place brought them another 1,100 sales valuation opportunities of varying degrees of usefulness, some of them very flaky, obviously, but another 1,100, so it dwarfed the web forms. And Yomdel, and when I was sitting down with David Lindley, the CEO, in February, just before the Fine & Country conference, and we reviewed all of the data from 2017, and we saw this figure as 1,735 sales valuation requests. That's aside from all of the other leads that we had generated for them. There's value, obviously, in buyers and all kinds of other things. We realized that Yomdel had generated 48% of all of the sales valuation opportunities that were captured on the Fine & Country website. And then taking it a bit further again, that 48%, that's 1,735 business opportunities, which, if you imagine, the fee for Fine & Country is very high, so that's a potential pipeline, idealistic pipeline, it's huge. That 48% of leads came from, if you just look at their UK traffic, about 1.3% of their website visitors. It's a very targeted deployment. A very, very, very small subsection of the visitors that came onto the website generated almost half of their sales valuation opportunities. And these aren't just any other leads. They're very well qualified, and they convert typically at a higher level than some of the others. So on that, I can talk a lot more, but on that, I'm going to finish, actually. But before I give the stage, I don't know if there's any questions anyone would like to ask. Silence is golden. Yes?
How many people, Andy, do you have actually answering those live chat calls?
Okay, so the Yomdel business is about 60% property, and the rest is other sectors, the financial sector, for example, automotive, travel, various others. The way we're structured is, we make no secret of this, is that in Billingshurst in Sussex is our headquarters, and we currently have a staff of about 18 people there, of which half of them are operational staff. And that Billingshurst office is staffed now 24/7, 5 days a week, and from 8 a.m. till midnight, Saturday, Sundays. And they're the senior supervisors and the trainers and the client operational contacts. The actual operators themselves are located in 2 state-of-the-art delivery centres based in the Philippines. And there's about 100 of them there currently, but those are increasing all of the time. It's important to stress, as we are now only tick-tock, 10 days away from GDPR, which I'm sure is a subject and that many of you have had to grapple with in this room. And we have been devoting an awful lot of attention to the whole data protection, privacy, security, all of these kinds of things since back end of last year, so quite a long time, to ensure that all of our systems and processes and settings and everything is as compliant as we can possibly be. So we're quite confident that we are where we need to be. But essentially, the team is we have plenty of room for expansion. We will be looking for a third centre pretty soon. We've also recently established Yomdel in New Zealand and Australia, which is just beginning to kick off now. Yes?
How much do you charge?
Oh, it's free. It varies depending on the type of business and the volume of traffic that you have coming through and what the definition of success needs to look like. For us, it's actually about we either work on a per lead model, which normally suits the smaller volume traffic businesses, or a per chat model, which suits large volume businesses. And the starting price on per chat is £3.15. We typically convert 1 in 3 people to an opportunity. 35% is the average conversion rate across everything, so that's why we get such a large result from such a small subset of people. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is to ensure that we understand what success looks like, that we work as a close partner. As our relationships with clients mature, we tend to be brought in, we lift up the bonnet, we work together, we look at what's firing right, what's not firing right. We work with our partners like Fountain, for example, to form a unified front, drive demand, look at opportunities for conversion, and then what else can be done to help the process through. So we have a number of other services where we take people from chat to voice, for example, straight through to the sales team. There's an SMS service that goes over the top. There's a whole range of different things. But while the cost is important, the most important thing is the return on investment. And we try to work very hard with our clients to understand what that return on investment is, and in most cases it's significant. Does that answer?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Anything else? Yes.
Can we give you brand voice guidelines?
Yes, you can. Every engagement follows a set of very clear processes, and any brand, we are your opportunity. You only have one opportunity to make a good first impression, and if you're doing it via chat, it's doing it via us. That's a huge responsibility. So we work very closely with you to ensure that the tone of voice is spot on. I'm an ex-journalist and publisher, and quality of language and engagement is really, really important. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you very much for your time. Obviously, we'll be here, so I think I might have overrun a little bit. I apologise for that. But thank you for your time, and there's Google to follow. Thank you, Rachel.